When you think of proud family traditions, the idea of working with molten metal in dangerous conditions may not come to mind. However, on our first stop, Ken Wilshire meets a family in Clarksville that's produced high-quality iron, and they've been doing it since before the Civil War. As Ken discovers, it's a tradition that keeps forging ahead.
Whether it's a replica of a Civil War cannon or just an exquisite modern-day piece of exterior art, these are some of the many unique castings produced at Clarksville Foundry, where its community roots have been deeply forged after more than 165 years in operation. And for the last 100 years or more, the foundry has been owned by one incredibly industrious family.
There's 26 individual castings.
Today, its president is Charles Faust, and he's the third generation of Faust leadership at this Clarksville family business success story.
Well, I'm told that the company was started in 1847, and really what we are today is the fusion of kind of two operations. The 1847 operation was downtown on Commerce Street and came through several owners, and my granddad acquired that in 1922. The operation on the current site dates back to his acquisition of it in 1912. He came to Clarksville as a chemist for a local blast furnace and worked as their superintendent and ended up buying the foundry from that blast furnace company. We evolved from the combination of those two entities.
Records show that the company began operations as Clarksville Foundry and Machine Works. After several other owners and name changes, it's now simply Clarksville Foundry.
Everything we make is out of iron, or an iron alloy, and iron is elemental iron and carbon and silicon primarily. We add a lot of different other chemicals to it to give it various properties, and the products we make are really parts for other manufacturers. We don't have a product line of our own. We make parts for air compressors and pumps and valves and some military stuff and many things I don't even know what it is. We just get a drawing and a specification and make it.
While the vast majority of all-American ironworks have gone out of business or moved to other countries, the only time the foundry was forced to close was when Clarksville surrendered to the Union Army in 1862 until the end of the Civil War. It voluntarily shut down again for 5 months back in the 1970s, when the future of the company could have been in serious jeopardy if it had not possessed one unyielding characteristic.
Stubbornness, maybe. We have managed to survive in a market where probably 80% of the foundries have gone out of business since the 1970s, and part of that was driven by air pollution regulations, the economy, imports, offshore labor and production being cheaper, but we have hung on and kind of fill a niche market where if somebody wants something very quickly or small quantities that doesn't make a lot of sense to import. So we try to fill that niche market, and there's a real need for it.
And even with today's pollution-free, more efficient electric furnace, foundry work is tough, with lots of fire, heat, molten metal, and challenging conditions for most of the company's 25 employees. And this is where the whole process begins, with tons of high-quality scrap metal.
We actually melt metal into a liquid state. We have to create a mold, which in our case is made out of sand, that has a cavity in the mold that's the shape of the part you're trying to create.
Close to that far one.
And you pour the liquid metal into that mold. The process is virtually unchanged from ancient times. We just have better mold making and metal melting capabilities and much better control over what we do. In a nutshell, you melt something, you pour it into a shape, just like making an ice cube.
Actually, they make just about anything their customers want, from special machine parts to decorative ironwork. By melting and molding mounds of scrap metal into thousands of practical as well as decorative products, you might say the foundry truly is a major recycling operation. Even the forms they use to cast their diverse creations have been transformed into these stunning works of art.
We start with a positive object, which is a pattern. And then we pack sand around it and pull the pattern out of the sand, and it leaves a cavity in the sand, the shape of what you're trying to produce. Those patterns are prime examples of woodwork. On the scale of woodworking, you've got carpenters and furniture makers and cabinet makers and so forth. The pattern makers at the very top of the heap of woodworkers. And some of these are just beautiful examples of pattern making. And rather than dispose of them when their useful life is over, I've formed a relationship with a local sculptor who's been able to take some of them and just make some fabulous pieces of art.
There was no bailout or financial restructuring when times were really tough at Clarksville Foundry, but they would not quit. They simply returned to business basics, redefined their market, and became leaner and greener. But most of all, it was their ironclad determination, fueled by intense family pride, that literally kept the furnace fire burning and clearly demonstrated their impassioned company motto. This family business really is as durable as its castings, and proud of it.
The legacy is our products. They, in many cases, never wear out. They're going to be around for hundreds of years.